So basically, there's another way to get this NPV in dollar, which is you need to find the NPV in euro first, and then based on the exchange rate of 1.25, you convert euro NPV to dollar NPV. Well, let's do this. If I turn on this NPV function, the first thing I'm going to put here is the euro interest rate, okay, or the cost of capital in euro terms. Do I have it? Not really. I have all the cash flows in euros, but I do not have a euro rate. So how can I find that euro rate? Okay, so euro rate. If we still remember, previously we learned that it's actually right here, the Fisher effect. Okay, the Fisher effect. So basically, Fisher effect states that the real rate times inflation rate equals to the nominal rate. All right. So of course, it's a 1 plus terms, and the real rate here, 1 plus real rate would be equal to the 1 plus nominal rate divided by 1 plus inflation. Okay. So if you have a nominal rate of 15%, an inflation of 6%, you probably will get a real rate of 9%. Okay, this is about 9%. We also have an international Fisher effect. So basically, international Fisher effects state that the real rate of the two countries will be the same. Okay, so if you invest in euro and the after inflation return would be equivalent to the after inflation return if you invest in the US. So the real return would be the same across the two countries. If one is higher than another, then the capital will flow from the low return region to the high return region. And when low return region lacks capital, the return will be higher. And when the high return region flooded with the capital, the return would be lower. And eventually, the real return will converge to the same level. And right here, we can solve for the real return in US, and we can also solve the real return in Eurozone. It is expressed as 1 plus US interest, the nominal interest over 1 plus US inflation, and the same setting for Eurozone. So if we equalize the real return of a Eurozone and the real return of a US, we have this equation. And I can play around a little bit. And since I'm going to solve this guy, okay, I'm going to solve this guy, the euro interest. So the euro interest will be solved based on the US interest times the euro inflation divided by US inflation. Okay, everything is a 1 plus term. And it is based on the international Fisher effect equation. All right, so this is how I solve for euro rate. So once again, euro rate is 1 plus the US interest rate, okay, times 1 plus euro inflation divided by 1 plus US inflation, then minus 1. Okay, so right here, the euro rate will be equal to, okay, what was the rate in the US again? It was 15%, okay, 15%. So I'm going to use 1 plus 15% divided by 1 plus 6% US inflation, right? Then times 1 plus 3% euro inflation, okay? Is that right? And then minus 1. So this is the euro rate, okay? 11.75%. And then now I can calculate the euro NPV based on this euro rate I just solved, and then all the future cash flows, and then get the cash flow zero outside the NPV. Right. So that's how much euro NPV I have, and based on this euro NPV multiplied by the exchange rate of $1.25 per euro. Okay, so that's the dollar NPV I have here. So two ways to get the dollar NPV. The first way is to convert, okay, all the euro cash flows to dollar cash flows, and then get dollar NPV. To do that, you have to get the exchange rates for all the time spot. Okay, the second way is to get the euro NPV and convert it to dollar NPV. But to get that, you have to get a euro rate based on US rate and the inflation of the two countries. All right, and another skill we learned in capital budgeting is, let's say, is IRR. Okay, it's IRR. So IRR is internal rate of return. Basically, that is a discount rate yield zero, that yields zero NPV. Okay, that yields zero NPV. So the higher IRR, the better. If you try to get the IRR, the internal rate of return in dollar term, it's very easy. You just use IRR formula. Okay, get all the values. So that's the values. So that's the IRR. Okay, 32% or 32.22%. If you want to get an IRR in euro term, it would be IRR, okay, based on the euros. All right, it's a 28.48%. Okay, to get this dollar IRR, again, you have to convert euros to dollars based on the exchange rates, and before that, you have to forecast the exchange rates based on the inflation. Okay, you have to compute the exchange rates and get the dollar cash flows, and then get dollar IRR. To get a euro IRR is much easier. Okay, and the only thing you need to do here is to use IRR and circulate all the euro cash flows. And what about if I ask you to get the dollar IRR based on euro IRR? So how can I get 32.22 from 28.48? And once again, we're going to use the same idea of an international Fisher effect. Let's say the return is measured by IRR. The dollar return after inflation, which is the real return in US, should be equals to the euro return after inflation, okay, which is the real return in the eurozone. If you want to solve the dollar return, you should put the euro return divided by euro inflation, then multiplied by dollar inflation, right? So what I do here is I'm going to use this euro return time divided by 1 plus 3%, which is euro inflation. So that's the after inflation of the eurozone, which is a real return in the eurozone, and is also the real return in the United States. Okay, how do we get the nominal return? Of course, we need to multiply the inflation of 6%. Okay, we need to multiply the inflation of 6%, and it has to be 1 plus term. I'm sorry, it has to be 1 plus term. Okay, and after that, minus 1. Okay, after that, minus 1. So 1 plus the nominal euro return divided by 1 plus euro inflation, which is 1 plus the real euro return, and that under international Fisher effect is the real return in the United States. And the real return in the United States multiplied by 1 plus the inflation in the US would give you 1 plus the nominal return in the US minus 1, which would be the nominal return in the US. So that is 32.22%. Okay, so here our goal is to solve dollar NPV based on euro cash flow, and solve for dollar IRR based on euro cash flow. And for each method, NPV and IRR, there are 2 ways to solve for it. Okay, and these 2 ways will be tested in your final exam.